We're coming at you on Philadelphia Eagles now with some breaking news. A day after all teams in the NFL cut their rosters down to 53 players and a Jalen Reagor trade did not happen after rumors were swirling that there was going to be an acquisition or a trade on Tuesday. Howie Roseman has done it once again, folks. He has traded Jalen Reagor away to the Minnesota Vikings for more draft compensation than what the Dallas Cowboys got back from Amari Cooper. That's why Howie Roseman is one of the best, most brightest, and one of the most well-respected general managers in the sport. Adam Schefter breaking the news just moments ago. By the way, we're live on Eagles Now right now, so if you're watching after the fact, make sure you join the comment section. If you're watching us live, feel free to interact with me throughout the program. Trade from Adam Schefter. Eagles sending Jalen Reagor to the Vikings in exchange for a 2023 7th-round pick and a 2024 conditional 4th-round pick that would de-escalate to a 5th-round pick if certain statistical marks are not met, sources tell ESPN. So to simplify that, you take a look at the trade as of right now. And back a couple days ago, I had said, look, you trade away Jalen Reagor with his value being diminished because his first 2 years in the NFL, he really hasn't done much. About a middle round pick is about what you can max out at in a trade for Jalen Reagor, and that's what Howie Roseman's able to do here. A 4th-round pick would obviously be a lot more ideal. Maybe it becomes a 5th, but playing on that Vikings offense alongside Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, who Reagor, ironically enough, was drafted ahead of, then I'm not sure what the numbers are going to be from Reagor. But obviously, as of right now, these are the trade details. As we continue to break this trade down, want to hear from the great city of Philadelphia in the comments section right now. Fly, Eagles, fly, and get those votes in down below. Who do you think won the trade? Give me a PHI for the Eagles. Give me an MIN for the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously with Reagor, drafted in the 1st round in 2019. And it's funny how the Minnesota Vikings had laughed at the Eagles and in their faces that they passed up on Justin Jefferson out of LSU to go with Reagor out of TCU, who a lot of people had more so sliding to the 2nd round as compared to the 1st round. And now what do you know? It's Reagor going to the Vikings with this new regime to team up with Justin Jefferson. And at the end of the day, I think it's best for both parties to move on. Philadelphia wasn't able to maximize Reagor. They were disappointed by his lack of production, as evidenced by the numbers here in 2020 and 2021 after he was drafted in the 1st round in 2020. If I said 2019, I do apologize. And for Reagor, it's just a time to reset the career. It's a time to clear your head of all the madness and the pressure that he's had to deal with over the last couple of years. Look, when you're a 1st-round bust in the city of Philadelphia, given the level of passion that this fan base has for this football team, and things don't go your way, then things can really snowball downhill in a hurry. And Reagor entering the league, you thought, okay, he has this speed element to his game where he can take the top off of the defense. Shoot, in his first ever game as a wide receiver for the Eagles, Carson Wentz hit him with that bomb deep downfield against the then Washington Redskins. And then also when you watch him at TCU, you're thinking at the time, you're going to get also a very good punt and kick returner as well, who can also be utilized in this offense as a gadget guy. Because at the time, this Eagles team had struggled for a couple of years following the Super Bowl. They needed a little bit of athletic punch on the offensive side of the football, and Reagor seemed to be that guy, but he never fulfilled or lived up to any of those expectations. Had to deal with a lot of personal tragedies on the side, which I'm sure didn't make matters easier, but this is why it's just best for the Eagles to cut the fat. I don't think that he was going to really contribute to this team much this year with the acquisition and trade for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith going into year 2, Quez Watkins just being a better player, and then Zach Pascal as a very good backup on this roster. What was the role going to be for Reagor? Probably not much. And him going to Minnesota, he gets to mentally, physically reset and hopefully just have a new life in his NFL career. This just coming in from Albert Breer, by the way. I want to pass along a couple of these notes because somehow Howie Roseman has been able to get compensation back for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside as well as Jalen Reagor. But Albert Breer saying this, Eagles taking Arcega-Whiteside and Jalen Reagor high in 2019 and 2020 was a mess. And if they take, say, Terry McLaurin, Justin Jefferson instead, they don't have to trade up for Devontae Smith or trade a one for A.J. Brown. But Philly's asset management does mitigate those misses. And let me ask Albert Breer this. Is having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith just as good or nearly as good as having Terry McLaurin and or Justin Jefferson? While Howie Roseman made mistakes then, he's made up for them now by trading for A.J. Brown, really good value deal, and not really having to surrender all that much to trade up for Devontae Smith. And now this offense is in a really fascinating position. And if Jalen Hurts is able to take that next step forward, my goodness, this Eagles team could be dangerous because they're so well-rounded at almost every single position group on this unit. How about this one from Shane Half? And this is what I said a little bit earlier. The Eagles got more for Jalen Reagor than the Cowboys got back for Amari Cooper. That's a real thing, and that's why for the last quarter century, the Cowboys have been a team in dysfunction, a team that has failed to make deep runs in the NFL playoffs. And the Eagles, on the other hand, since the turn of this century, they've been one of the most successful teams in the NFL. First with Joe Banner, and now with Howie Roseman calling the shots. Fiscally sound and a pretty good eye for talent. As I said, Howie Roseman has been able to make up for some of those mistakes. You look at this Eagles wide receiver depth chart now. With Reagor off of it, I do expect another move to possibly transpire. Will the Eagles elevate Deon Cain to the active roster? Will they bring up Devon Allen, the awesome hurdler and one of the fastest men in the world, to the 53-man roster? Could they even bring back Britain Covey? He's on the practice squad now, but will he be on the actual roster? Because going into today, we thought that Jalen Reagor was going to be the returner for this team, and they kind of lack a return man. So that's what's interesting here. 3 wide receivers on the practice squad that could get elevated. But another move that the Eagles made earlier today, they signed Ian Book, the former Notre Dame quarterback, to their active roster. They needed to either cut somebody loose or trade somebody away with the corresponding roster move to make room for Ian Book. The trade of Jalen Reagor does that, but I highly doubt that the Eagles are going to go into week 1 against the Detroit Lions with that little at the wide receiver spot, because we know injuries happen and depth is of the utmost importance for a National Football League roster. How about this? You saw the Eagles receiver room, and now it's without Jalen Reagor. Grade it for me in the comments section. A, B, C, D, or F. Definitely value your feedback. And one more time, make sure you subscribe to the channel. The link is down below, youtube.com/EaglesNow, or just simply hit that red subscribe button. For those of you watching us live right now, nearly 600 people on our first live show, which is awesome to see after we just did our first watch party over the weekend. And what you can expect is a very high standard for Eagles coverage moving forward, led by yours truly, a guy who grew up in the area and grew up rooting on this team. Eagles news, Eagles rumors, Eagles analysis, and we're also very fast with what we do. Trade details came from Adam Schefter. We went live right away. 53-man roster came out yesterday, and the trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the absolute dog, we pushed out videos very quickly. That's why you subscribe to the channel in advance. Appreciate all of you for joining the Eagles family here at Chat Sports. To really round out my thoughts, couple of things here. Best for both parties to move on. I think Reagor needs a fresh start, and the Eagles don't need him on this roster. This is a team that's well-equipped and well-positioned to make a deep run in the playoffs, and if Jalen Hurts is able to take that next step as a passer, I think this Eagles team could be extremely difficult to go up against because they have one of the best and deepest offensive lines in the NFL. They have a good running back core. Wide receiver position has certainly gotten better. And then all of the defensive acquisitions at an area of need. You bring in Hassan Reddick. You sign Kaiser White. You draft Jordan Davis into Kobe Dean. You make the trade for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You find a way to bring in James Bradbury for a very affordable price. Darius Slay is an excellent lockdown number 1 corner. And now Marcus Epps, he definitely has to emerge, but Marcus Epps and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, a totally different safety tandem as compared to what we thought it was going to be potentially with Kayvon Wallace and Marcus Epps. And then for Nick Sirianni, last year, team got off to a rocky start. What is the job of a football coach? It's to make in-season, in-game adjustments. Nick Sirianni wanted the Eagles to throw the ball a lot last year, and he realized that's not what we're equipped to do. Then he pivoted, went to the ground game. Eagles found their success. And while they didn't beat any teams with a playoff record last year, they took care of business and ended the regular season on a torrid stretch. Nobody expected that team to make it into the playoffs in year 1 of that Nick Sirianni regime, and they did. Now going into year 2, a lot more pressure comes with the roster acquisitions and all of the success that they had last year, but this team has all the makings of being a legitimate contender in the NFC. So lastly, here are the trade details before we hop on out of here for this particular segment. Eagles receive a 7th-round pick and a conditional 4th. Vikings receive Jalen Reagor. Your one-word reaction to describe Reagor's tenure in Philly, let me know in the comments section. And on our live show, we'll give you some shout-outs right now.